ESPN football analyst and two-time Super Bowl champ, Booger McFarland, on the line as we saw the Ravens and 49ers both get through to their respective conference championships last night. You've been there, done that. You know what it takes to win it all. Who is the more dangerous one seed based on what you've seen here so far, Bug?
Well, I think you'd have to say Baltimore. I mean, they looked the part. Their defense is playing outstanding. Lamar, for the first time this season, I thought yesterday really kind of put the cape on and was kind of vintage Lamar, running the football, 100 yards rushing. They started kind of slow, but in the end, I think Baltimore really looks the part. And they're going to be a tough out. It's going to take a team that can do two things to beat them. One, you got to be able to match their physicality, because in every game at some point they're going to line up and they're going to bring Ricard in, and they're going to put the tight ends there, and they're going to challenge you physically. And then you're going to have to do what I thought DeMeco Ryans did a really good job of, adjusting to Lamar. Everyone wants to kind of sit back and be afraid of Lamar Jackson. I think it's proven by Pittsburgh and other teams that see them a lot, and even DeMeco yesterday, I thought did a really good job. When you want to get Lamar uncomfortable, you got to bring at least 5 and sometimes 6. You got to bring people at him in the pocket and take away his ability to see free grass. So it's going to be interesting to see as they go forward how many teams try that theory that we saw yesterday from DeMeco Ryans.
Hard to, I think DeMeco's front, because of the speed and athleticism, allowed him to do that. Sometimes I'm not sure that a lot of these teams have the speed to catch up to him. But I thought Lamar showed something yesterday, Booger. I thought he showed the ability to adjust and throw the short passing game with accuracy, with rhythm, with timing. And to me, I agree with you. The completeness of their offense makes them the most dangerous team that I'm watching come playoff time.
Yeah, I would agree. And if we're going to, give Lamar credit, you got to give offensive coordinator Todd Monken credit also, because they got sacked the last 2 plays of the first half. And, the heat was coming. It was a tie game. And then all of a sudden they come out. And I thought the adjustments, to your point, Mike, the short passing game, the design quarterback run, they faked the power and did the naked bootleg with Ronnie Stanley out front lead blocking. Those are some of the subtle adjustments that Todd Monken made to say, okay, DeMeco, if you're going to bring pressure, you're going to bring 5 and 6. How do we counter that? We're going to counter that by the short passing game and the design quarterback run.
Meanwhile, it is still the San Francisco 49ers who are the favorite right now to win this year's Super Bowl. What were some things that you took away from the performance yesterday and what they need to do if they really want a chance to win it all in a year that they seem poised to throughout the most of the season?
Like the biggest thing I took away is that I think if you're Green Bay, you're going to sit back and say, we lost that game. The game was 7-6 at halftime, and Green Bay had outplayed the 49ers. They went for it on 4th down, didn't get it. They kicked 2 field goals, and they outplayed the 49ers. And then at some point, again, a physical football team, Kyle Shanahan finally said, you know what? Let's get a football to Christian McCaffrey. Let's throw it to George Kittle. And the first touchdown drive in the second half that they had, that's how they got it. It was big play to Kittle, long run by McCaffrey, and that kind of got the thing rolling. But my biggest takeaway really it wasn't about the 49ers. Even though they made some plays late, I thought Purdy was average at best yesterday. I was sitting with a quarterback that said he's not comfortable. I said, what do you mean? It's like, well, he's taking the glove off. He's put the glove on. He's taking the glove back off. He and I are about the same size. He's having trouble with the wet football. I said, but it stopped raining. He's like, yeah, but the grass is still wet. And so that's something to take a look at, because he did not play well yesterday. He had the one good drive at the end of the game, and they won, and everybody says all is well. But if you're Kyle Shanahan, and Mike, I know you like to do this, you go back and look at the tape, you got to ask yourself, okay, how am I going to beat Tampa or Detroit? More importantly, how am I going to beat Baltimore or Kansas City or Buffalo if my quarterback is inconsistent the way he was yesterday? And you can blame it on the rain, but if you go back to last month of the season, Brock Purdy hasn't played well, and that's got to be really alarming to Kyle Shanahan.
I agree. I think, to me, but I'm sure Kyle's going to feel like, okay, we kind of worked our way through it. I don't think their line played very well either, Booger. I thought that the Green Bay defensive front was in control. I thought they gave them some pressure too, and I'm not absolving. I'm with you. I don't think he played well. I think the football bothered him, his accuracy. I thought all those things. But what I was most impressed was I thought the game would be a higher scoring game. I thought it might get to the 30s because I don't believe that all this rhetoric that the Niners are this elite defense. I think you can throw the ball on them. Now, Jordan Love was not good on the last 4 drives of the game. He struggled. But to me, there is a weakness in this 49er defense. And last night, you being the great defensive lineman that you were in the league, that defensive line didn't really exert itself against the Packers.
It's crazy you mentioned it. I sent out a tweet about midway through the first quarter, and I said, a team that's built on rushing the passer really isn't good at rushing the passer anymore. And it sounds crazy, but if you look at the 49ers, Bosa didn't have an impact on the game. Armstead, Hargrave, like those guys didn't have the impact on the game that you expect a defensive line that has. Bosa's making 25 a year. Armstead is close to 20. Hargrave to 20. Like you got a lot of money tied up in that defensive line. And I thought for the most part, the Packer offensive line neutralized them. And so, there's been some back and forth all year long because Steve Wilks has heard about this great defensive line, but he's also watching the film where they aren't getting sacked. And so when Steve starts to blitz, they go, whoa, we don't blitz here. And they're like, okay, well, if you're not getting to the quarterback and I don't blitz, now my secondary looks vulnerable. And so there's got to be some give and take. And if you follow the 49ers all season long, there's kind of been a little back and forth between the new guy on the block, Steve Wilks, and the old defense that has a lot of veteran players on it. And if you watch the game last night, I think if you're Detroit or you're Tampa and you go to San Francisco, you got to say, we feel really comfortable going against this defense because the Packers ran the football and Jordan Love was pretty comfortable back there. So I'm with you. The defense that was so vaunted a couple of years ago with Bosa and Armstead and Hargrave and now we got Chase Young and we're just going to overwhelm you with our defensive line. They really didn't do that last night, and that's really alarming for a team with so many resources at that one position.
And as a 49ers fan, I hate seeing it. ESPN's Booger McFarland joining us here on the Lombardi line. Your former team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, played 7 seasons there, won a Super Bowl with that group. They've got the Lions coming up here in just a little bit, a few hours away. What's your expectations for the Bucs today in Ford Field, taking on a Lions team that has waited so long for this opportunity?
Yeah, that's what they said last week about the Lions. They waited so long, and I got 2 concerns, and I think it's one for each team. If you're the Detroit Lions and you heard about everything, we hadn't won a playoff game in 100 years, and you win last week, are you automatically going to assume that it's going to be the same way this week, and do they come out flat? Do they come out saying, we've already broken the streak, now what? And so I want to see how the Lions play. And then number 2, if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you got to survive the first 5 to 7 minutes of the game. And so it wouldn't surprise me, and we've seen this a couple of times already, Mike and Stormy, win the toss, take the ball, because you want to get off to a good start. Even though the analytics say you win the toss, you defer so you can get the ball at the start of the second half, and you have an opportunity to control the middle late. And so it's just going to be interesting to me. If Todd Bowles and the Bucs win the toss, do you take the ball and try to quiet this crowd early, get your team comfortable, get Baker comfortable? Because if Baker Mayfield is comfortable at Ford Field, the Buccaneers have enough weapons offensively and enough weapons defensively to go in there and get the job done.
Yeah, I agree. This game's going to come down to the defensive tackles. When they put Hutchinson inside in the first game, that really was a problem for the Bucs to block him. And if you get inside of Baker, like we talked about with Purdy, he'll play small. And if he plays small, it's going to be hard for the Bucs. That's the way I see it. I agree with you. I think, to me, it's all about comfort if he's playing small inside.
Yeah, that's interesting because if you look at the Bucs, other than Tristan Wirfs, that offensive line has been inconsistent. They got a lot of young guys on that offensive line. Jensen is not playing at center. He's been out all season. And kind of where the Buccaneers, this year was supposed to be a rebuilding year. They got about $80 million in dead money from the Tom Brady years, and they kind of took it in the offensive line, starting a couple of rookies, couple of second-year guys. And so if you're Detroit, you got to take advantage of what I call the weakness, because if Baker's got time, his skill position guys of Edwards and Godwin and the tight end Otten and this new guy Trey Palmer, they got a lot of weapons out there. So it's going to be imperative of Detroit to make sure they make Baker Mayfield uncomfortable.
We're up against it, Boog, but yes or no, is Jaden Daniels going to leapfrog Drake May for second QB off the board?
Well, he shouldn't leapfrog him. His performance this season has shown you that he's the better quarterback.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.